What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here. Delarose.com. That's DELARROZ.com. Subscribe to my newsletter on there and get some free comics. All right. This is NYX, and the reason I picked this up is because it's an out-of-print complete collection. Just saw it on a comic shelf in a local comic shop the other day, and decided to grab it. NYX was like Joe Quesada's attempt in the mid-2000s, sort of revamp the X franchise, and this looks like a, made-for-TV type of concept where it's like kind of street-level stuff, etc. And, it's filled with edgy stuff and lots of violence and drug use and things like that to make it TVMA or whatever. And it's about a girl who can kind of stop time, and there's a bunch of other girls who get together, because girl power, that's how these things go. And just by happenstance, and end up having to run away because some bad dudes chase after him. Teacher gets shot, she's run away from home. There's a bunch of hookers and stuff, and X-23 is in here. The reason I decided to read this is because I just read X-23 Complete Collection Volume 1, and I know that her actual character started in here. I mean, you see her on the cover here, which is the only character that actually really did too much out of this whole group. The others kind of faded into obscurity. But they kind of formed this like haphazard super team in this first 7 issues. Now the art's really good. I really like the pale pastels and things like that the color assistant here did, and Josh Middleton did. I think it adds a nice touch to it. Makes it feel like you're watching a Netflix show or whatever, which I know didn't really exist back when this was made. But this was probably some blueprints for some TV stuff. It really feels like it. Now, I know Quesada really dragged on this, and I remember picking this up in the first few issues, and then Quesada got busy and then didn't finish it. And I don't know when he finished it, so I know it took some time, and eventually they wrap up. They meet this guy who basically can transfer bodies and take control of other people's bodies, and he's going to hunt them down, but he learns that that they're good guys and ends up trying to help them out instead. Now, the main girl, Kidden, who is the girl who can stop time, as I mentioned before, she sees her dead father for some reason, and he gives her advice, on where to go. And they actually do make a reference to that one film, I See Dead People. And if you remember that one, which was kind of big at the time, kind of has faded. I mean, people don't talk about that movie so much anymore. It's interesting how properties don't really have that whole long-term nostalgic thing like we have with Star Wars or whatever these days. And they eventually escape and go on the run. And that's the end of that. Now, Marjorie Liu, hopefully I pronounced her name right, I'm sorry about that if I don't, then takes over, and we have Kalman Andrus, oh man, that's a tough one, and Sarah Pacelli doing the art on this volume. And they try to capture a very similar style than the first one. It's not as good. This Andre guy, as you can see, just draws these faces that look not pretty, whereas Josh Middleton really draws very pretty faces. So it's quite a jarring difference. Even though they attempt to make the style the same, it's not. And they're basically in an apartment holdup, and there's a murder mystery, and one of the girls gets kidnapped, and they have to rescue her basically, and we get into this guy's past, the guy who, what's his name? The one who can take people's minds under his control also. The second one really was not as interesting as the first. They kind of wrapped up their storylines pretty well in that first one. And they had to make him lose his memory and things like that. And the art's just not as compelling either. I'd say that Marjorie Liu also has a tendency to just have a lot of talking dialogue. As you can see, it's just not much going on besides talking and talking and talking, which doesn't lend itself well towards comic book form. Marjorie Liu is a novelist first, as I recall, and so I see this sometimes when I see writers transition into novel work. You see Sarah Pacelli's art's a little bit different than the original artist as she takes over for part of this. I like her slightly better, but again, Josh Middleton does a little better of a job, even so. And this was just not that compelling of a second miniseries, and I see why it kind of died and didn't follow up. X23 was really the most interesting part of all this. And then look at all these extras, tons of sketches in here. So they really padded this volume because there's only 13 issues of this complete collection. So volume 1, little on the dark side, little on the edgy side on the scripting, but at least the plot flows and does pretty well and resolves itself. Quesada actually did a pretty good job on that. And Middleton does wonderful art. It's just pretty to look at. Even though I don't like a lot of the subject matter and content in there, a lot of it's pretty disturbing. The way Middleton presents it, I guess, softens it, but it's still disturbing stuff. And I don't know, Volume 2 just pretty much didn't need to happen. It was just a strictly worse version of it all the way around. And, I kind of see why this whole idea got nixed. Get it? Nixed. And that's about it. So, the first series then dovetailed into the X23 complete collection, and then X23 ended up in X-Force and X-Men for a bit, and then goes back into her own series again, and just kind of flails on that level a little bit. But this was the beginning. The rest of it really doesn't matter other than her brief background origin story, which is really a detour in this whole deal. I guess she's the cause of everybody getting chased down at some point, but she doesn't actually show up until I think issue 3. So it was kind of a odd twist that shook the series in a different direction when they went there with her, and it seemed like it was supposed to be Kidden's story for the most part, and it is. It's really from her perspective, but that's what came out of it, was X23. So, got the history here. It's not that great overall. I'd say maybe a 6.5 out of 10 overall. This is kind of skippable material. If you want it for the history of NYX, or not NYX, I'm sorry, X23, then that would be a good reason to read it, but that's about it. Since it is out of print and kind of over cover price, maybe scoop it up if you can find it somewhere at a discount or something like that, but that's the only way I'd get it. All right, hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know what you thought about this, and we will be back soon.